Hi, thank you everyone for being here. I know it's brutal right now. It's 3:30. It's not easy to be here, right? And then they give me a negative topic, so this is not good. But would you like a gift? Do you want my a PDF of my book? Okay. Now here's the caveat. I believe I'm going to give you the right URL or the right URL kind of thing. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, and just DM me on Instagram. But I think it's catherinemaley.com/book. So somebody check it out. If it's right, it's right. If it's not, I'll come up with something else. Okay, so let's talk about the unhappy patient. I'm sorry, but we have to talk about them because it's too easy to share their unhappiness. Who here has had, we have all been through it already. We know it sucks, but we have to deal with it. And if you haven't yet, you will. So, okay, what are we going to do with this? Because everyone's anxious to say how awful you are, but nobody's totally anxious to say how great you are because they already like you and they're fine. You've got to motivate the unmotivated is what's happening. But in the meantime, we have to deal with the unhappy patient. So I'm not going to get into how this gets this far when they're unhappy, but I will, because now they're already unhappy, right? So we have to show that you care. Do you care as much about that patient before they gave you money as after they gave you the money? I guarantee not in a lot of practices. There's a shift. Once the money changes hands, there is a shift that the patient should not notice ever. So hopefully you have some consistency here. The patient feels as close to you now as they did before. And does anybody in the office, do any of you surgeons make your own phone calls, your own post-op phone call to the patient? All right, I'm going to say that's going to be one of your biggest differentiators if you do, because no one's doing it. You know what happens when you've been around for a long time, you start doing the shortcuts. You say, I'm not going to call the patient. The nurse can do that. The coordinator can do that. I'll tell you though, in today's world, the patients would really remember something like that. So the doctor calling. And I know you say, I have to do that too. Well, yeah, in between the social media, all the videos you're going to do, and now you have to call the patients. However, a lot of surgeons know that there's trouble brewing. They know it wasn't a great experience. A lot of times they know it. And this is a perfect time to set all this in motion. In case there is something wrong down the road because the surgery didn't go perfectly, plan it now. And then you want to respond quickly. You know how often I've been in so many practices where the patient's calling, trying to get the appointment, and the doctor says, I'm not here next week, I'm not here. And you can't do that. When you're unhappy, how much unhappier do you get? It's not like when you're unhappy, it doesn't just dissolve. If anything, it just keeps growing. So please respond quickly. And then again, you have to show you care. So this is what I say. When they're unhappy, you have to see them twice as much as you want to. This whole talk is about doing things you don't want to do. Just FYI. It's just the way it is. So you want to meet with them. And personally, I'm going to say always at the end of the day, you cannot be rushed. End of the day, I would offer refreshments. I would lighten that mood as much as you can. There's a law of reciprocity, and that's why people break bread together. When you bring something, when you're invited to dinner, you bring bread or wine or whatever. I would do the same thing here. I wouldn't bring them alcohol, but give them some, maybe no. Yeah, you have to know the audience. But what you're trying to do is relax, never do this in the middle of the day, end of the day, and you're focused. And remain calm. Okay. I live in Northern California. It's very feng shui there. I would get good at meditating, or at least visualizing. Right before I went in there as a surgeon, I would literally visualize the patient hugging you at the end, the patient clapping for you. You've got to get your head on straight, and your ego has to leave the room. No ego at all. You'll lose if you're going to get into an ego play with the patient. So, and I know I'm not talking to any surgeons here. Tell your surgeon that he or she has to remain calm, visualize. Tell them I told them to meditate. Because if you don't go in there with the right mindset, you're going to lose. So, you want to reestablish rapport. And, has anyone had any counseling, couples therapy? You know what they always say? Look at eye contact, use their name, ask questions, and do not rush. You're in no hurry. The surgeon has to slow it down because right now the patient knows they have all the power. And they do. At the moment, they do. Now, this is a tough one for most of us. Listen without interrupting. I personally am not capable of that, but in this particular scenario, if you have to put your mouth up or put your hand at your mouth to zip it, do whatever you need to do, because this is where the patient wants to talk to you. And everybody does. When we have a complaint, why do we go online? Because nobody's hearing us. That's why we want to go tell the world, because we're not being heard, especially females. We want to be heard. We want to be acknowledged. So let her talk. Has anyone been sued by a man? I guess men do, but typically it's a female. But let her talk. Half the time, 85% of it's diffused just by letting her tell you. And that's why you have to be feng shui about this and remain calm. There's a good chance she's going to blast you, but it's just enough to settle this whole thing down and rebalance, hopefully. Now, I'm not talking about crazy, because you can't fix crazy. I'm talking about the regular, normal patient who's not loving what she got. And sometimes there's a balance here between the doctor who says she expected everything and this is ridiculous, she's being crazy, versus you can see there's some asymmetry. You can see where the problem, so usually it's somewhere in the middle. So that's why you want to keep the ego out of it for right now. Actually, forever. Now, if you've had couples therapy, don't they always say, you listen, and then what do? You repeat back. I used to think, are you kidding me? I would see through that in a second. Like, that just seems so manipulative. If I say to you, I'm very upset with you because you yelled at me, and you say, well, you're very upset with me because I yelled at you. That seems ridiculous to me, but it's music to someone's ears. That's what we want. We want someone to hear us. So if she says certain words, you repeat them back, the same words. I guarantee subconsciously she says, he hears me, he's acknowledging me, she gets me. Now, here's the really interesting thing. Sometimes it's a real issue, but sometimes it's just a complaint. Do you realize that? Sometimes, if you could listen, they're just complaining, just a complaint. How many times have they said to you, oh my God, this is so expensive? And here's my card, You really don't know until you hear them out. So you say to yourself, is this a complaint or is this seriously something that I've got to deal with? Sometimes it can stop there. Now you want to acknowledge and then you want to apologize only for how they feel. There's a debate on this. You're not even supposed to apologize how they feel. You're supposed to not apologize at all because of the litigiousness of all of this. However, I don't know how you're going to get past this. If somebody's angry with you and you know they can hurt you online. By the way, have any of you had websites set up about you? Do you know some practices have full-on patients who have set up websites just to bash them? So every time you Google them, look who comes up. The nut job that's put up a website about you. I mean, it's crazy what can happen. That's why I say, although it's not fair, it's reality. The reality is the patient does have an awful lot of power. So just acknowledge, and I'm not saying apologize for what you did. Apologize for the situation you're in. Okay? Now you want to probe. Now this is where the patient has been able to tell you everything, and they feel spent. You can tell when somebody's bitching, she's sitting up straight, she's in your face, she's being aggressive. It can be pretty aggressive. But then when you're done, she sits back. She's kind of done. She's been diffused. Now it's time for the doctor to pick up and start asking questions. Not before this. First, let her be heard. Now you ask some questions. Things like, what's prompting this, Karen? Did somebody say something? So you're acting like you're just curious because you don't see what she sees perhaps, and you're just trying to figure out what is the problem? What are you upset about? And I do like the question why. Why? So, why don't you like your result? Why aren't you happy? If you ask why, what happens is it makes somebody stop and think, do you know we're not able to, you can't ask somebody a question without their head answering it. So use that to your advantage. And if they say, I'm not happy because I don't like my nose. Why is that? And then you get to it, well, it turns out my husband doesn't like my nose. She was fine, but her husband didn't like it. So you want to get there. If you can get there, the real root of it, you're much better off. And actually, so is she. because now she's able to define, why am I so upset about this? Because you know, we humans, it's not always what we say the first time. It's the deeper, the 2 or 3 levels down. So if you try the why thing, and I think it'll help. And I love this. If you were me, what would you do? If you were me, what would you do? You have to say, if you were me, because now she has to put herself in your shoes. Because you've already had to put it, like, turn that around. So turn it around. And you know what? When I used to be a sales rep, I'll go a billion years ago in San Francisco. Door to door, I sold business equipment. Oh my God, I don't know how I did that. But I followed a rep who was awful, 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 awful. And you know how I handled it? So I had 500 customers who hated me. They didn't even meet me yet. And you know how I would do it? I'd say, you know what? I realized you didn't get the service you wanted. That's why they brought me on board. How would you like to be treated? What do you want from me? That was golden. People just want to tell you what they want. That's really what it is. I don't think we're being heard in today's world, and I think that's what is going on a lot of the time. And I love the word, what's fair. Do you know most human beings just want fair? They don't want to crucify you. They just want fair. But you have to figure out what fair is. You know, fair to you and fair to you could be 2 different things. So you have to figure that out. Now, I like this one. Do something. When somebody's upset, do something. Like, inject cortisone if you have to, or saline, or do something. Give them a massage. If they think they got lumps and bumps, do a lymphatic massage. Do something that helps them reassure you heard them and you're willing to do something about it. Because if you just keep saying you have to wait another year, God, that's not the right question or answer. You know, oh no, you just have to give it more time. Do you know how many times you can say that? About 1. And it better be like, just give it a week, or you can't keep saying give it 6 months without doing something. That's where they're gonna fume online. And then other solutions, you want to touch up in the office. If you can do a touch up in your office and make them happy, terrific. If you have to comp your fees, so be it. And sometimes you can discount the OR costs. I will tell you though, as a patient, I don't care how many of them have signed the yeah, you're gonna charge me afterwards. If the patient feels like you did surgery, they trusted you, they did not get the result they wanted, and now you want to charge them more, golly, I just want to say from the patient's point of view, they don't think that's their problem, that's your problem. You paid for that. They didn't do this, they trusted you to give them a good result. I do think you have to eat it sometimes, because what else are you going to do? And here's my last slide that might be helpful. Let's say it was $10,000 procedure. Put this in perspective from both sides. For her, this could have been the biggest decision she's ever made in her life. This was the most money she's ever spent. And she's going to pay for years if you gave her affordable pay plans. So she's going to think of you every month while she's paying for this and hating you. So that's all built in. And it was big bucks for her, okay? On the other side, as a physician, for $10,000, problem solved, problem goes away, you have peace of mind, your reputation's intact, and it costs you 10 grand out of a $2 to $5 million practice. I personally would start looking at it this way without the ego saying, I'm not giving any money back, because that's your ego talking sometimes. This might be a better bet. So do you like that idea? Like looking at it that way? The patient has a lot more leverage on this than you do, and a lot more financial grounding than you do. So here's the reminder. They won't sue you if they like you. I'm sure you've heard that before, and it's so true. So that's why you have to go back to the beginning. If they really liked you and you had a good relationship with them, when there is a problem, they're much more likely to work with you. And that is that. So I'm at CatherineMaley.com, or you can follow me on Instagram. Yeah?
It was right.
Oh, it was right?
It was right. The one that I picked.
But I didn't hear what.
Oh, then I'm sorry. You can't have it. It's CatherineMaley.com/book. Yeah, I mean, anybody can figure that out. If you go to all of my stuff, because I have to keep it easy for me to remember. My staff always says, you do know people go on and just figure that out. And I'm like, oh, whatever. It's fine. You can have it. Yeah? Okay, thanks so much, everyone.